Hello, conducting class. Thank you for watching this video. I realize that it's probably more informative if I'm actually there to teach you these things, but I talked about a lot of this today. So now I'm in class. So now I'm going to just sort of reiterate a few things. I'll play some musical examples. My computer does not have a really loud speaker, so I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but I'll do the best I can. What I'm going to do is review what I talked about in class, which is sustaining gesture, pattern modification, and conducting supermetric patterns. The supermetric patterns are largely what you're going to be doing in the conducting. No, that's not true. For one of them you'll do supermetric, for the other two you're going to do pattern modification. But the first thing to know is sustaining gesture is what we have been doing, which is taking two beats and combining them, like we did with the end of Almighty Father's phrases, where you'd have incline thine ear. That's sustaining gesture, because you're taking three beats, you're combining two, and then giving a lift on the third beat. So you're really showing three beats, but you're combining the two beats. That is pattern modification and sustaining gesture. What we talked about today was the Lully, Au clair de lune. Da, 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 dee, 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 dee. Remember, going out to sustain can be more effective than going up to sustain. Just because when you go up, you need to come down. No matter what, you need to have a break. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, break. That lift will give you a break, and that's what's going to cause them to breathe. If you look in the music on page 111, there's a breath at the end of that first line. As far as the two, Hunsberger gives two examples: the 1, 2, or the 1, 2. Whatever you want to do. If you do this long gesture you see on the bottom line, if you got longer gesture, it's going to keep them sustaining longer, because the more movements, the more fluidity there is to your gesture, the less likely it is they're going to break that gesture. That's what I was saying. What causes them to break is ictus. So if you go dee da 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 dee dum, you're going to get a stronger second note. You're also, they're not going to breathe there, but it's more emphasis as opposed to da 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 dee dee. That little flowing gesture. It's a change of direction that tells them to change their note. So that's what we're talking about with sustaining gesture. I think that you guys understand that. It's pretty straightforward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip forward to get to some of these musical examples. I'm going to skip the Haydn just because I don't know the piece that well, but you can look at it if you want. It's sustaining gestures in threes. Like if you look at page 113, the third example, the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What we're talking about is the change of speed in your hands. When we're sustaining longer beats or more notes together, things slow down, because the slower hands indicate the slower rhythm that's going on in the ensemble. So like low there in the moonlight. You don't want low there in the moonlight, because that doesn't look good. You want to make sure that there's that resistance in your hands. But if you want to look at the Haydns, you can. It's fine. What we're going to do next is look at 9-4, because what we're going to do is we're going to take all the sustaining idea, and now we're going to apply it to the music and supermetric conducting. Like I said before, I'll use this as my board. Supermetric conducting is taking one or two or more measures and combining them, like in the Candide. Oh, there we go. Well, just enough room. That's our rhythm. This is a 3-2, this is 2-2. We're going fast. We're going like half note equals 144. So at half that'd be 72. So the beat becomes 72. So each one of these measures become one beat, and this becomes a 1, 2, 3. You can either do this in 3 or you can do it in 1, or have a modification you can do. But this is what you're going to be doing with Candide. And the example is here in 9-4. This is not the one you're conducting. The one you're conducting is in the back of the book. But, hold on one second. However, this portion you will conduct. And I don't know if you can hear this or not, but here we go. Here's the example. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. You can also do 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. What I prefer is a 3-2 with a hiccup. Instead of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 1, because you could do a 2-4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. If you put them all together, you can either do the float on 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. But I think that's too much time myself. I think when you go dee dee da 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 dee 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 dum, there's too much time. What I like to do is have a little click. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So what I do is I come in, then I pop up. I go 1, 2, in, up. 1, 2, in, up. 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So I think 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. I wouldn't do it in a 4 pattern. Let me tell you why. Because that 3 is too quick. That 1, 2, 1, 1. Because 2 to 3 is the longest distance you're going to travel in conducting. 1, 2, you're over here, you're traveling over here. So that's a long distance. In order to, so you don't want to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. It causes this sort of hopping feeling. As opposed to 1, 2, 1, 2, in, up, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, in, up. I don't go so far in that I have to come back. I just go in and then pop up. 1, 2, in, up. 1, dee da 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 dee 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 da dee dee da 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 dee 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 dee. I'll show you that in this excerpt. Again, if you can't hear it, I apologize. I know it's quiet. Then you have that way you don't have that long floating 3. If I keep going, 1, 1. Or you can do 3. I think it's elegant too. 1, 2. Do a little Christmas tree. Out, in, out, up. I think that's nice too. And you're actually going to conduct that. So that's the example for Candide. I'll go over the full example later on. Now the second example that we have is Mars. So with Mars, that's what we talked about. You're going to be marking Mars later on. It's this da-da-da-dum, dum, da-da-dum. So I'm going to take a second to write this down. And I realize, I think in the score it's a double dotted, quarter with the 16th, but I'm not going to do that. And this is going to be a little tough because this is not a very big board. So what I'm doing is I'm writing out this rhythm for you. Abstract. Sorry. So here's what we have in 5/4. The dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da, and that actually is a big slur over that. Then da 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 da. So if we're to conduct this the regular 5, I know it's not easy to see, but you can get an idea. I'll go da 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 dum dum da da dum da 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 dum dum da da dum da 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 dum dum da da dum. You have dee da 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 dee. So what you got to practice is going 2, 3, 4, 5. Da dee da 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 dum dum da da dum da 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 dum dum da 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 dum dum da da dum da 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 dum dum da da da. 3 plus 2 da da dum dum da da dum da 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 dum dum da 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 dum dum da da dum da 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 dum dum da da da. And that's what your players would have to do if they were to play this. But that's the supermetric conducting. What you're going to do, and I'll play. I don't think I have Mars up right now, so I'm not going to play an excerpt from it for you, but you can take a look at these examples and see how the supermetric conducting works. Like if you look at 9/10, oh, there's a dee da dee da dee da, or dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da dum, where you have these little measures of 5/4, which are really 1 da dee da dee da dum. Like with this, dee da dee da dee is 3 2 3. Dun da dee da dee da dum, and that is example 9/10. Dee da dee da dee da dee. That's pattern modification. You also have, and then here's the example of the long ones. There's also little hiccups. dee da dee da dum, dee da dee da dum. You have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So anytime you have that 1, when you're doing this sort of pattern modification, supermetric conducting, the 1 has to pop. 1, 2, 1, 2, pop. 1, 2, 1, 2, pop. 1, 2, 1, 2, pop. What I'm going to do is take you through some of the examples. So that's supermetric conducting. I know that's really fast, and I wish what you can do is pause it now and practice these. Find a recording. It tells you what measures they are. This is the beginning of March. Measure 43 to 46 is 9/8. 46 to 48 is 9/9, and figure 9/10 is 60 to 63. So you can go through those, and we're going to go through some of the conducting excerpts as well. So what you're going to do now is go to the back of the book. So we're going to apply this. I would take more time. The reason this takes an hour to do in class is because I'm actually having you conduct. So do take the time to conduct. So hop to the back of the book. Here's Au Clair de Lune. What you're going to sing when we sing this is really, we normally just sing this melody line. So everyone will sing the soprano line, but if you look at it, it's like Almighty Father, though it's nothing like Almighty Father. Like Almighty Father, you have the same rhythm in each part. There is some extra motion at times, but since we're not singing that tenor line, we don't need to worry about it. It's largely homophonic. And so what you're going to decide is how you want to do this. Really, and it's the same rhythm every 4 measures. Lo, there in the moonlight, my dear friend Pierrot, don't I have your pen, sir? I must write a note. And notice this first whole note I did in 2. I think that's appropriate too. Lo, there in the moonlight, my dear friend Pierrot. Another thing you can do is stretch along. It's like that's why you're going out. Stretch a long 1, then pop for 2. My dear friend Pierrot. Dum, dum, dum. Or 1, 2, 3, snap. So really what you're doing is, if you're going to do a 2, but the first beat will be 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you notice, since we're just singing the top line, it's the same over and over. The notes change, but the rhythm does not change. So what you're going to do is, when you conduct this one and practice one, you're going to practice 1, 2, 3, 4, stretch, stretch. 1, 2, 3, 4, long, 2, 3, and 1. And what you want is a tension on the long note, then a release for the breath. So a tension, 2, 3, release, 1. Always releasing that tension to 1. But that's Au Clair de Lune. I'm not going to play it for you. It's a very simple children's tune. The next one you're going to do is going to be Harkstow Grange, I believe. Let me see. And this one is from Lincolnshire Posy by Percy Grainger. And it's the movement that a lot of people know. We're not going to do the whole thing. Where we go is up to measure 17. This is actually the entire movement. I know you probably can't see this, but open your book to 324. This is the entire movement of Harkstow Grange. Or as it says, Harkstow Grange. There's some debate whether it's Harkstow or Horkstow. But this one you're going to be tested with the 5/4. What you're looking for, I'll sort of bring this closer, hopefully you can see it in the camera. What you're looking for is like the 5/4s. The 5/4s. If you look at the ends, you have half notes at the ends of some of these phrases. A whole note here in the 4/4. The half note here. The whole note at the end of the 3/2. This you need to conduct through. We'll talk about that later on. That you really need to conduct through because it's got to have time for the trumpet player. So, but that's something else because you have a cornet solo here. So really you need to conduct through this because there's time coming in and out of this. But if you look at it, I believe this is going to be a piano reduction, so make sure, there's no parts. Make sure that you take a look at this. I don't have a piano player to play this. As you guys know by now, I don't play piano. So just watch out for that. Not having transposition, and run the key of D flat, which makes it a little bit trickier too. So I know it's kind of hard to see, but just watch out for the 5/4s. But this is not going to be supermetric conducting. This is going to be pattern modification. I have an example here of the Marine Band performing this. So what I'm going to do now is play for you just some of Harkstow Grange. Again, it's going to be kind of hard to hear, and I understand that, but I'll conduct along a bit. Because it's a very gentle piece. When you conduct this one, I'm going to be looking for crescendos and diminuendos, and whether you can stretch the 5/4. Again, if you can't hear it, I'll still conduct it. 2, 3, That was stretching. I did the 5/4 as a 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. All I did was, again, do it like a 4/4. That's how I modified the pattern. Here's a 3/2. 1 and 2, and you really do it as a 3/2. Don't do it as any other subdivision. And 1, 2, 1, 2. You're counting, and 1, 2. And I haven't practiced with this, just so you know. So I'm just keeping in time. This is the Marine Band, so they're keeping time. 1 and 2 and 3 and hold. That's where we're going to stop. So as much, I'd love to do the whole thing, but just for the sake of time, and that's an example. There's really just one melody played 3 times. And when you do Lincolnshire Posy, if you ever do it, that's all it is. It's melodies repeated over and over, often without B sections. It's just A section melodies, kind of like Irish tune in a way. Just one melody played over and over. But the 5/4s, what you're looking for is half notes at the ends of measures, whole notes in measures or at the ends of measures where you can stretch it. And how are you going to stretch it? Well, almost all the time they're at the ends of measures. So like at the beginning. After the pickup. I do not like a break there, because if you look at the bottom line, the slurs go over, and there's only maybe a breath in the melody, so I don't like to break it. That's why it's 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. And by not giving a click, like I said, all I do is have momentum going down. I do go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I move it forward. Then the second one, 3, 4, 5, and 1. So 3 and 4 combined. 3, 4, 5, and 1. So then you go through 5. You move on 5, and that gives them the gesture of syncopation to then play the 8th note going to beat 1. And then nice big crescendo, so it should be like a hump. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 7th, 8th measure. Hold, lift. And it feels like it pulls back a little bit in 9, that's okay. Then move it forward again in measure 10, and same thing. But look at the break. In measure 11, both of the phrase markings break, the slurs. So that tells me I want to break there, because it's different from the beginning. And 1. That wasn't a very good one, but 1, 2, 3, D. And I would consider doing these in 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it's a little break. 4, 5, and 1. Or if you don't like that, you want to go out, you can do D. So you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. So stretch it through 5. 4, 5, 1. So it's not 4 breath on 5. You don't need a full beat breath. They just need a little breath. That's something you can navigate. No breath from 13 to 14. So that's where you're going to use the big hill. Hold 2, 3, 4, and 1. And note, I don't like to have a big snap, or they'll breathe. 1, 2, 3, 4. What I do is, as I'm stretching it, I relax my hand so I can come back in. I do 1, 2, 3, 1. So they don't go 1, 2, 3, and then they breathe. So 1, 2, 3, and this should have almost no ictus. Almost no ictus. So those of you that are very ictus heavy, no ictus. Take it out. But that's what you're going to conduct. Is the beginning up until 17. And we'll just hold out that whole note, and you'll hold out a full whole note and release it. Dee da dee da dee 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 da. Gentle, a gentle release. But that's the harsh stroke range. So what that is pattern modification. Modifying the 5/4s almost always into 4/4s, or at least stretched beats in 5. Like I said, if you don't want to do a 4/4 in the second measure, so you stop on 4, move on 5 to 1. But that's what you want to practice. You guys are a smart class. You've gotten all this stuff really quickly. So now it's going to be a matter of whether you can apply it. Apply it to what's happening here and figure it out on your own. For skipping 9/5 a second, go to 9/6. So this is the tricky part. I normally start right in measure 86, which you can see it. It's right here. Normally I'll start down here in 86. This is the intro. That's the flute and piccolo playing together with some clarinet action in there too. So this is the one. You can see my score is not marked. If I showed you, I bet I don't think I have my book here. My book that I used when I was a conducting student actually does have probably some of the markings in it. Let's see. Because yeah, look how old this looks. Can't tell. It's I bought this back in 1992. Oh no, I guess I hadn't marked this in, but and I covered some of the markings so I could use the book when I first started teaching conducting. But this I'll sort of bring it over closer so you can see it. I know that's really far away before to see it, but when I get closer you can't see me. But I guess that's less important right now. Let me just lower this a little bit. Slide this over. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to start here. We go back to Candide. I'll actually start a little bit before so you can hear what's going on. You're going to be able to hear it. Papo. 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Crescendo. 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And that's the end. That's how much you're going to conduct of that. So it's a matter of feeling those sevens. It's a matter of feeling 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Like I said, I think of like a 3-2 with a hiccup on beat 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. So, if I were to move this second so I to conduct it. And you want to be generous. It's very warm. In a piece that has a lot of forward propulsion, the Overture to Candide is quite warm. You have 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Sorry, I lowered this a little bit. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Or if you're comfortable, 1, dee da 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 dee 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 da. I think that looks nice too. 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what I would do. I was sort of doing it as a 2 before, but I would do it as a 3. 1, out, in, out, up. 1, out, in, out, up, 1. So I would take a look at that. Now the third one that you're going to do is going to be Mars. And all you're going to do with now, you're going to skip back to 9/5. All you're going to do with Mars is mark it. And I'll give this to you on Friday for you to mark it on Monday. So we have an assignment pretty much every day. And where we'll start is 25. No, that's a lie. We'll start at 40. 40. So you have this B da dee da dee da dee da dee da. What you're going to have to determine is where the big 5/4s are. And I'm not going to mark it in here because this is what I'm going to use to copy for your assignment. But I want you to bracket off what 2 measures go together. And you should be able to tell by the slur between the measures. Like this one, if you know, it does not have a slur between the measures. You can see that. That tells me that this is an isolated measure. That's the 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. That 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1 is what this one would be. But then this is connected. connected, and then what you're going to do is go through up to here and tell me where it's connected, where you do 5, where you would do a modified 3, a 5-2, a 5-4, or a modified 3. Just show me what you would do. And yes, this is tricky, but hopefully most of you have this piece in your sort of collective musical blood, because it's such a familiar piece now in our Western music that I think that many of you already know this. But what you got to do essentially when you get to 40 is ignore but-da-da-dum, dum, da-da-dum, but-da-da-dum, and at least for 3 measures you don't need to, but once you get to this measure, supermetric conducting is going to start. And because we're not going to conduct this, you need to show me when you write it, and I'll give you these 2 pages on let's not do Friday, do Monday. I'll give you these on Friday, and you'll complete it for Monday, and you'll show me what you would do. Because some people would say too, would you do supermetric conducting at the beginning? No. The only reason being, even though this looks supermetric in all these ties over, there's not enough going on. There's no motion to this. I feel like there's a definite motion to this rhythm. Dee da dee da dee. This is just sort of like brooding sounds. Boom, boom, boom. And there's not as much sense of rhythm. And even when there is, the prevailing rhythm is still dum 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 dum. That's the rhythm that we hear. You could do these with some pattern modification, but we're not going to worry about it for now. I would do straight 5 for almost all of it up until here. And that's really where we start to modify the pattern. Because at this point, the people in the bass line have been playing this for 41, 2, 3, 4, 40, 41, 42 measures before the supermetric conducting comes in. So it's not like you're hanging them out to dry. At this point, that's what they got to do. They go da da dum dum da da dum da da dum 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 dum. Or not them. You got to be able to do that. And then when you come out of it here, it's clearly in 5s after this. And I believe this is where the excerpt ends. But this is very, just so you know, being a euphonium player, this is a very famous euphonium excerpt. Bum 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 ba-da-la-dee-la-dee. I'm probably singing it too high because I hear the orchestral version, and the band version is bum 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 ba-da-la-dee-la-dee, bum ba dum bum dun digga 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 in the trumpets. But anyway, so that's what supermetric conducting is. I hope this helped you for me to be able to explain it. Friday, what you're going to have to do, what you'll do Friday is have, I'll stop a little bit, is have your conducting excerpts up and ready to go. You're going to play on Friday. I know that seems sort of sudden to play Friday, but we got to get through this. We really got to start conducting on Monday. You guys have shown the ability to learn things very quickly, so this is sort of going to challenge you, and we will start up on Friday and go from there. So if you have any questions, let me know. So you know what's happening. Due Wednesday is nothing. Due Friday is going to be Chapter 9 and your responses. I'm about to upload the video from this camera for the last 4 people. The rest of you should be in Blackboard. And then the following Monday, a week from today, we will start conducting again. And we will do Au Clair de Lune, the first half of Harkstone Grange, and then Candide, starting at the all the way to the end. And I will give you Mars, which will then be due on the following Monday. Alright, thank you for watching. I appreciate you doing this. I know this is a bit tedious to be listening to me, and I don't know how well you can hear me in this office, but I appreciate you guys doing this. You've been a really good class, and I'll see you on Friday.